Hello and welcome to Reports from Arbroath. I'm Brian Halford and today I'm delighted to be joined by Olly Hannon-Dalby, born 275 miles from Arbroath in Halifax, West Yorkshire. Olly first played for his native county before joining Warwickshire in 2013. He's led Warwickshire's bowling attack, indeed carried it at times in recent years. 157 wickets in the last three championship seasons. And he's very much at the heart of Warwickshire's team and their fans. Olly, welcome.
Well, thank you for having me. Thank you. Sterling, glowing report there. Thank you. I need you in my next contract meeting.
Well, I'll do my best to get you another one. I don't think you need much help from me, I have to say, Olly. Now, ladies and gents, I'm sure you know Olly is the last person in the world to want to sit here and talk about his own exploits, so we won't be doing too much of that. Okay. But another hat you do wear, Olly, is PCA rep for Warwickshire, which you have done, I think, for 10 years.
Yep.
And I know you are very invested in the welfare of cricketers during and after their playing careers, and plenty of cricketers do or will need some support, don't they? So just the life of a professional cricketer in many ways is a great one, isn't it? But it's a strange one, isn't it? And often quite precarious.
Yeah, so I mean, it is brilliant. You know, you get to play your childhood sport and, you know, really enjoy it. And some of the places you go and people you see and friendships you make and hopefully trophies you win. It's unbelievable. But that's the word precarious. You know, you sign up to a 20, 25-year mortgage and yet you only ever really sign a 2-year, 1-year contract. And, you know, I've probably spent my entire career on 1 or 2 year contracts. So that old fable I remember from primary school, the sword of Damocles is sort of always dangling above your head constantly, whether it's a change of coach or a change of captain or just some sort of hierarchy at the club. It can be really quite volatile. Lose form, get injured, all those things that, you know, that happen to any sports person. You know, it can be very volatile and your sort of livelihoods are at stake, really. So it's brilliant and I love it and it's exciting. It's also very, very strange. So Kirsty's my wife's a teacher, and we have these funny conversations where she's very jealous of my job because if I do well and I get, you know, more wickets than someone else, I might get a bonus or I might get a better contract. Whereas her teaching, you know, salary, she's done, you know, the same as anyone else who's taught for 10 years and has the same experience. There's the various teaching bands where I am so jealous of her career because unless she literally punches a child tomorrow, she cannot get, so she has got a job for life, just almost like guaranteed, and can do that job at any town, village in the whole country. So it's funny how we have these.
And there are quite a few jobs like that, aren't there? That if you're decent at it and solid at it, you will have a bit of security.
Yeah.
But professional sport and cricket isn't like that at all, is it? And obviously it's a great thing to be, isn't it? And it's a lot of young men and women's dream. And you go into it, you get your first contract, and then how soon does the excitement wear off and you start thinking, blimey, I've got to get another contract in a year or two?
I don't know, that's hard to describe because I think it probably just happens naturally. Like, yes, you're super excited. And I'm still super excited to play now and sort of competing and getting better and coming up against a really good batter and you figure them out and you get them out. It's an amazing feeling. But I can't tell you when, but there is a certain stage where it sort of tips into, ooh, I'm in my last year of my contract, or ooh, this is important now, and you know, I've got bills to pay, all that sort of stuff. It definitely does change when it changes. I couldn't quite tell you.
You've spoken about some of the things that can affect a cricketer's future. And I think we both know quite a few cricketers that have done very little wrong, but just for a change of personnel at the top comes in, they just don't fancy you. Yeah. And you're on down the road, aren't you? But just talk about your early career, for example. You'll move from Yorkshire to Warwickshire, and were you thinking at that point, blimey, there's no place for me at Yorkshire, so can I carve out a career at a second county?
Well, yeah, I mean, young cricketer at Yorkshire, learning my trade at the same time, probably a bit daft and probably didn't realise some of the things we've just talked about, that, a new coach has come in, I better switch on and I better impress him, and I'm in the last year of my contract, or other people are getting signed, I need to switch on here type of thing. So basically, a new coach came to Yorkshire, a guy called Jason Gillespie. You know, he's a brilliant cricketer and has had some really good success as a coach. And he signed people like Liam Plunkett, Ryan Sidebottom, Jack Brooks, all absolutely brilliant cricketers, but it essentially just knocked me down the pecking order, and for whatever reason Dizzy didn't really fancy my bowling, which is absolutely fine, and it sort of came to a head where, you know, the club said to me, you are sort of last bowler off the rank. You can speak to other counties if you want, which was it was a bit of a funny time of year. It was in about November, December, so not many counties are looking to sign cricketers at that time of year. So basically, after it was in the gym at the time. We used to go up to the gym at David Lloyd in Leeds, where I basically got told, yeah, you can speak to the clubs if you want. Had a little cry, rang up the PCA, rang up my PCA personal development manager, a guy called Matthew Wood, who was amazing. He met up with me in a service station on the M62. Again, had a bit more of a cry. And then pretty quickly came up with a plan. And essentially, the next day, I got sent a phone number list by the PCA, just with every first team coach's phone number on it. And I just went through the list and just rang them. And some said, not interested. Some said, ring back in the season. Some said, ring back in the new year. And luckily, Graham Welsh at Warwickshire sort of rang me back straight away. Because it was a bit of a weird time at Warwickshire, because Ashley Giles had literally just gone to England, I think, to be white ball coach. They'd just won the championship, so there wasn't really a coach to ring. And luckily, Pop Welsh said, come down in the new year and we'll have a look at you and see what you like. And luckily, that 1 week trial turned into a 2 week trial, and 2 weeks turned into a month. And then when eventually Dougie got given the job, I think Pop sort of said, yeah, I'd like to sign Ollie if you can. So one of the first things Dougie ever did was sort of give me a contract or take me on for a year. Might be one of the worst things he ever did. But
I don't think so. But when you actually phoned Pop that very first time, did you say, hi Graham, Olly Hannon-Dalby here. You might remember me 5-4 at Edgbaston last year. I got Bell and Trot out,
Well, I think I'd have called Dougie. I'm not even sure Pop's number. I think it might have been Ashley Giles on the list, and then maybe Dougie Brown, second team coach. So I think I called Dougie, and Dougie basically said, not too sure what's going on here at the moment. I'll maybe ring back in the new year. And then I think Pop had got wind that I'd called Dougie, and Pop called me back of his own, on his own type thing, and just said, don't worry about no one being here at the moment. I want to see you in the new year, and so it just got me down,
Yeah, well, that's the start of what has been a really good chapter in your career, hasn't it, the Bears? But it did take some time to take off, didn't it? You didn't just roll up and get straight into the team and just flow from there.
Yeah. Well, I mean, probably two things happened. I think because of what happened at Yorkshire, you then realise how volatile it is, and you realise on what thin ice you're standing constantly. You realise, God, I'm dangling by a thread all the time here. So any new opportunity or any second chance at being a cricketer, I sort of wanted to grab with both hands, really. Perhaps, a bit of a change of mindset, because I knew what it felt like to get binned off, really. But yeah, I definitely didn't have a great deal of success to start with. I think in my first year, probably the best thing I did was bat with a broken arm for a little bit, and I think I didn't bowl that well, and managed to get in the side for a 4-day game. And we were playing a game on TV, and we got absolutely hammered. But luckily or unluckily, at the end, me and Ricky Clark batted for about an hour, and I got hit on the arm early on, and it turned out I'd broken my arm type thing afterwards. And then rushing back from that injury, because it took me 6 weeks to get over a broken arm, rushing back from that injury, I bowled far too much, far too soon, because I was still only on a 1-year deal. My contract was running out in September. And I bowled 60 overs in the second team my first week back, and pretty much had a sore back immediately. And turns out a month later I had a stress fracture. But I think luckily I'd bowled well in pre-season. I'd got my Yorkers in on a pre-season tour to Barbados, and then batted for a little while with a broken arm. I think the club thought, this guy might have a little bit about him, if you like.
When you say a little while, it was 78 minutes.
There you go.
So that's pretty noble, isn't it? Yeah, but that did show you a bit of...
Yeah, I by no means smashed it, but I think perhaps the club thought, he might have a bit about him, because he batted for a while and got his Yorkers in on pre-season tour. So it was probably the year after where I would have thought, right, this again, another 1-year contract. So it's probably the year after that, I probably really switched on, and thought this is probably my last chance here, and luckily for both myself and the club, 2014 was a great year. We won the T20, we came second in the championship, we came second in the 50 over comp, and I played a load of cricket that year. Contributed to the team's success, and probably went on from there, which was great. So I felt like I'd not established myself, because I definitely wasn't the first name in the team, but I'd contributed to some wins.
And as years went by, you did establish yourself. I mean, you've been, if I may say this, superb for the last 5 years. So you have really led the attack, which at times has been very depleted, hasn't it? And you've carried that brilliantly at times, and that despite quite a significant injury, wasn't it? About 3 winters ago? When And that again, we're talking about, you never take too much for granted as a cricketer, because even when things were going really well for you as a bowler, suddenly an injury crops up and the future is uncertain.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I had to buy if we'd go back to 2013-14, Chris Wokes, Keith Barker, Boyd Rankin, Chris Wright, Ricky Clark, Jeetan Patel, with this phenomenal bowling attack, really. So I was always going to be back up, along with other lads, Ricardo Gordon, Tom Milnes, really good bowlers. We were always sort of going to be the backup to those big guys. So I had to bide my time, really. I've always thought I was probably a better red ball bowler than anything else, but the one-day cricket that I played and the death bowling that I sort of did well in 2014, 2015, 2016 was almost a means to an end, because it was the only opportunity I was going to get. There was a spot for a death bowler. I sort of said, I'd fancy doing that. I'd love to do that, and had some success doing it. But I always had this sort of niggling feeling that I was a better red ball bowler, and if I could get a chance and cement myself in the red ball side, it's something I definitely wanted to do. And that sort of came about when Barks and Wrighty and Boydie and Ricky all sort of left in 2018, I think. So the opportunity in 2019 to play a lot more red ball cricket was there, and something I've really enjoyed. Yeah, there's been times where it's been tough, and red ball cricket is like that. It's sometimes in T20 cricket you can bluff it a little bit and bowl pretty rubbish and still pick up a few wickets. But in red ball cricket, day in, day out, 20 overs a day, you have to bowl pretty well to get your rewards. So I'm really, really delighted that that's happened over the last few years. Yeah, you mentioned there's still been a few injuries. I tore my it was during the 2021 season where we won the championship. Halfway through that, I ruptured my plantar fascia, which is sort of like the arch of your foot under your foot. So I ripped that and was out for the season. Luckily, the lads did pretty well without me, and we won the championship, which was great. So I didn't play a part in the end of the year, I was a bit gutted about. I wasn't on the field when we won the championship, but just to sort of have contributed to a championship winning side is awesome.
But I remember talking to you at the time, and it was a worrying time, wasn't it? Because obviously the chaps were having a great time heading to the championship, the Bob Willis Trophy. You played a significant part in getting them there before you got injured. But in the back of your mind, I mean, I remember talking to you one time and you were thinking, well, hopefully it'll be okay. But you just sometimes never know.
I suppose that's the thing with any injury. And you look at someone like Paul Liam Norwell, one of the best blokes you'll ever meet, one of the best pros you could ever meet, and for whatever reason, he's had injuries that he just sort of can't shake off, and in the end, it's sort of ended his career, which is horrific for any sportsman or sportswoman. Injuries are absolutely inevitable. If you do something enough times, you're going to get injured. However, those feelings of when you do get injured, they don't subside. You think, oh, this could be the one that finishes me off, or what if it's serious, or what if this is, what if I can't get over it, or what if someone nicks my spot, or all those feelings come flooding back, and it doesn't matter. If anything, the older you get, it might get a bit worse, because your responsibilities are up here, and then your injuries sort of down here, really. So in some ways, being young and innocent and living at home with your mum, it might be a bit easier to be injured when you're sort of that age.
And of course, you had a benefit this year, didn't you? Which I was just wondering, will the benefit system remain for much longer? Because cricket has changed so much, isn't it, in the last 20 years? Never mind 120 years ago when benefits came in.
Yeah, I know.
Because they came in, didn't they, when professional cricketers were really poorly paid and hardly paid at all in the winter. Yeah. So cricketers really needed a benefit.
Yeah. Yeah, I think they were almost invented by cricketers, weren't they, down in Kent? So I can't remember who was the official first testimonial beneficiary. But yeah, they were for giving players a golden handshake, really. Whether that happens, I'll be honest, one of the big things is player movement. Players don't really stay in one place, too long anymore. And the advent of all these white ball cricket leagues, will you see the best players be freelance and live in Dubai and just play where they want throughout the year rather than staying at a county? I honestly don't know. I honestly don't know. It's sad to think, much like it's quite similar to the sort of overseas. Jeetan Patel is an overseas player I played with for 6-7 years and was an absolute unbelievable servant to Warwickshire cricket, unbelievable servant to English cricket, really. But those great overseas that come to a county year on year, we see that again. You see Simon Harmer, someone at Essex who does it, and Frank Worrell at Surrey, someone who's doing it at the moment. Will it be 10 years? Will it be 5 years? It's sad to think at what it might become.
And indeed, homegrown players have now got franchises because even when a player might stay look at Jacob Bethel, Dan Mosley, they might stay at Warwickshire for 10 years or whichever county, but they will be away for significant parts of that time.
Well, I mean, Jacob Bethel's an unbelievable success story, and we should all be incredibly proud of him at Warwickshire. His family should be proud of him, we should be proud of him. He's a brilliant human being and he's a brilliant cricketer. But essentially, I don't think we're going to see much of him now for probably, if his career goes the way it could do and the way it should do, we might not see him for 15 years. And at the end of that 15 years, will he want to come back and play red ball cricket for Warwickshire in April, May? When he's got his mansion in Barbados, I'm not too sure. But I'm not begrudging Beth at all there. It's, I wish him every success in the world because he's a top man, but it's funny to think where the game's going and what might happen to it. Yeah.
Indeed, and just looking back, put your PCA hat on for a moment again, because I mean, you guys, as we were talking about, benefits came in many years ago because professional cricketers were really poorly paid. And there were examples of, I think going back just either side of the First World War, of the club. I think Dick Lilly wanted to play football as well as cricket professionally, just to increase his income. And Harry Howells asked for permission to run a pub in Coventry because they just needed to supplement their income. Have you ever thought of running a pub or being a professional footballer?
No, I haven't. But it's interesting how we're a lot better looked after these days, and we have 12-month contracts, so you're employed all year round. But it is funny how. That is brilliant, and it's the safety net that's there is a lot better than it was. Just the examples you say there, but I do wonder in 10 years' time when I've finished playing cricket, you do sort of wonder, would you have been better in the winters doing something away from the game? Yeah. Would probably from a cricket wise and a fitness wise and a skill wise point of view, probably not. But for the rest of your life, I don't know. Would I have been? There's some funny stories out there about. Guys selling Christmas trees in the winter, or going to work for Morrison's and all that stuff. It's brilliant, and the safety net is amazing. But it's almost like from your life after cricket, might you be better, doing something like that in the winter?
Was it Ed Giddins that sold
That's right. Ed Giddins was the Christmas trees. Yeah, that's right.
But I know, talking to Steve Perryman, who was he? You wouldn't have come across with him coaching wise, but he's a great guy. And of course, when he played for Warwickshire. In his early days back in the 70s, he had to find something to do in the winter, and I guess in a way what's it like being a professional cricketer, especially before Christmas? I'm guessing it's just a fitness worker.
I will answer your question in a minute, but I suppose what I'm trying to say is, from a cricket point of view, it probably is better to be on a 12-month contract, but the life skills you might get from being on a 6-month contract is sort of interesting. It's something, that's why the PCA and players have to work hard in the winters to try go get that experience, whether it's coaching, whether it's work experience. But yeah, it's a funny balance.
Would it reboot your... I mean, I think you would hope that most professional cricketers really love cricket, but if you're doing some hard yards and fairly gruelling yards in the winter, would it reboot your appetite a bit if you went and sold Christmas trees or clean windows?
Funnily enough, do you know the year I mentioned I got injured? My first year at Warwickshire was 2013. I had a stress fracture in August, so my season was over. And I was proactive, and I went and did some work experience for a recruitment company in Leeds, and I spent 9 weeks as the office intern, the office dog's body, at a recruitment company. And I really enjoyed it, and it was sort of made me think, oh, well, you know, if I'm not playing cricket, I'll be okay because I can go do that. But it also made me think, sod that. I don't want to do that just yet. I want to carry on playing cricket. So, you know, sort of opened my eyes to the world away from cricket and made me thinking, I want to stay in it.
It is a few years away, all being well, but have you thought what you'll do after cricket? Are you looking? I know you are. You've done some quite a lot of coaching already, and successfully. So
So I mean, I've done my coaching badges up to level 3. I've done an umpiring badge. I think I would like to stay in the game. Doing what, I'm not entirely sure. Almost quite envious of those people who, you know, they've got the family business and they're like, yeah, I'm going to go do that, or they're always going to be a fireman since the age of 5. Quite envious of those people because currently I have absolutely, I don't know what I want to be when I grow up. The chance of being a cricketer sort of fell on my lap a little bit. I never really set out to be a cricketer, so. So what is actually going to happen? I'm not too sure.
Umpiring is you've
I think I could.
Yeah,
I think I could see myself being an umpire. Yeah.
It is. It must be lovely, mustn't it? Because I must admit, at the age of 60, I still don't know what I want to do when I grow up. I think
that's reassuring.
I think a lot of us never find out, do we? But the likes of Boyd Rankin always, for example, always knew he was going to go back to the farm, didn't he? And
I like that sort of reassurance. And
Ollie, just talking about the demands on professional cricketers. So I was a cricket fan called Ben Cook was speaking to me the other day, came up with a really interesting question. He said, I just wonder what Ollie and all professional cricketers make of the itinerary of county cricket, because it is so congested and it's so varied.
Yeah.
When you see the fixtures come out, do you think, cool, blimey, or do you think, oh...
You try to get me in trouble here and say so much from that. No, I'll be totally honest. I understand the arguments about the schedule, and the PCA and certain players make very good arguments. I think this year Warwickshire played the first T20 game of the year at Durham at 5 o'clock at night, and the next day for the blast off we're in Birmingham at 2 in the afternoon. So that's just almost, it's not safe. It's not going to be the best for the cricket. The guys are going to be tired, probably at risk of injury. That's not right. However, I'm probably one of the few who I don't mind the schedule, and I don't love the fact that certainly reducing red ball cricket, I don't really want to see that happen. 14 games, I really wouldn't want to play many less than that. It's already been reduced from 16 when I started out. But I do understand the points about safety and time to improve your skills, because there's probably a certain feeling during the summer that you're just sort of going from game to game, and if you've got a deficiency at your cover drive, when can you actually work on it? I do understand all that. But I also, I don't want to sound like a miserable old grump, but if it was easy, everyone would be doing it. If it was an easy, cushy job where you played one game and then had 3 weeks off, then every career advisor in the country would be saying, yeah, go be a cricketer. It's a doddle. So I think, probably cliche, but there's probably a balance to be had. Yeah. Maybe there is a smidge too much cricket now. I wouldn't personally want to be seen. I wouldn't like it to be reduced too much, because I hate to think the detrimental effect that would have on the game, on people's jobs, and all that sort of thing. So it is tough. There's no doubt about it. And I'm probably sat in a lucky situation, not a lucky situation, but I don't play T20 cricket anymore. So there is probably a little bit of the season where I'm not quite as busy as some guys, someone like Sam Hain, who plays every form. I know I have conversation with him where he says I'm shattered a lot of the time. So I do get the arguments, but on the flip side, invariably, if you want to work less, you probably have to sacrifice something, and whether that's wages or staff sizes or...
I remember talking to Jitan one time, Jitan Patella, and saying about the workload, because he played everything, didn't he? Sometimes with his arm hanging off.
Yep.
And he just said, mate, we're professional cricketers. Just bring it all on. And he just was an absolute. He just loved his cricket, didn't he? What do you think of the championship being pushed into the two ends of the season, Ollie? I know that's a subject that people have got strong thoughts on.
Well, I mean, first, the people I feel sorry for are the spectators, because there's days in April and then days in September where it is absolutely freezing, and you're at, Edgbaston, where the wind can howl through a little bit sometimes, and it can't be the nicest place to watch cricket. So that's not great. The problem is where you fit it all in. The guy called Alan Fordham at the ECB has got this Rubik's Cube that's changing multiple times, and there's 18 counties Rubik's Cubes to try and fit into a finite amount of time. I have no idea how you fix that problem. Do you play 4-day cricket in the middle of summer when the 100's on, but then does that deplete the standard of 4-day cricket? I have no idea. It's a conundrum. I'm a simple man from Halifax who does not have the answers to how we solve that problem. But we essentially play it, a lot of cricket, and it would be nice to spread certainly Championship cricket throughout the summer, I'd say. It
was a conundrum. Well, it always has been, hasn't it? It was widely perceived to be too much cricket before the 100. Yeah. So then you introduce another competition.
Well, it's funny. I don't know the exact year that the PCA was founded. It's 50 years old, isn't it? So I can't do the maths there. And I think when they've got the minutes for the first meeting of the PCA, they play too much cricket. They'd like to be paid more. The umpires are rubbish, and can we do what we want in the winters? The problems probably haven't changed from when Fred Rumsey was founding the PCA all those years ago. It's probably all very similar things. Can we get paid a bit better and play less cricket? And
similarly, I think if you go to pretty much every Wisden Cricketer's Almanac ever produced in 180 years now, whatever it is. In the notes by the editor section, there's always some self-flagellating from English cricket about the format, and it's been perpetual debate, isn't it?
It's funny, it always seems to be messing with itself, whether it's 8-ball overs, 6-ball overs, back foot no balls, leg side wides, fields, body line. Cricket's always fiddling with the rules somehow, isn't it? I'm not sure. Do other sports do this? Or
no, not really. Yeah. And quite often it's bowlers that seem to cop for.
Well, yeah. I must admit, this is a bugbear of mine, but I can't think of many rules in the last 250 years that have been to help bowlers. I can think of maybe 2 or 3. I think this new one at the death when a batter gets out, and it doesn't matter if they cross the new batter's facing you. I think that's good. That helps the bowler. 8-ball overs down 6-ball overs. That probably helps the bowler. But invariably, you get this thing where any innovation that a batter invents is unbelievable. A scoop, dancing around the crease, turning around to be left-handed. What innovation? Whereas whenever a bowler does it, it's somehow devious, underhand and cheating. Body line. Yeah. Body line was a plan to a batter to make him score less, and it worked. It was a brilliant innovation. It worked. Now, Kevin Peterson, when he first switch hit, was lauded as unbelievable skill, which it is an unbelievable skill. Now, we have got young cricketers, one's just left Warwickshire called Amir Khan, but there are young cricketers all over the world who can bowl with both arms. But that skill is completely negated by the fact that you have to say, Mr. Umpire, I'm currently a right arm over bowler. Yeah. I'm going to be bowling this side of the wicket with my right arm. And then if you want to use your left arm, you have to say, I'm now being a left arm round bowler, I'll be using, Why can't a bowler, if they have the skill to bowl with both arms, why can't they just probably say which side you're bowling? I understand that. Yeah. I'm going to bowl from this side, but whatever arms come in at you. Because batters stand there and dance around like Fred Astaire, and it's all fun and games, but bowlers come up with any innovation and it's devious.
Were you playing at Guildford that time when Keith Barker was bowling at Ricky Ponting?
No, but I've heard the story.
He just did a little bit of kink in his run-up. Nothing major, but compared to what batters do in the crease, it was almost nothing. But he was, he's got to run. I think he, as you've obviously left arm, he might have just been waving his arm or just like bending it, just try to put him off, and the game stops, and he's lambasted. What are you doing? You can't do that. Yeah. Ridiculous. It's a batter's game.
I'm telling you, it's a batter's game. If you could think of many rules that have helped bowlers in 200 years, I'd be amazed. Maybe they bat. I'd tell you that as well. They've reduced the size of bats, haven't they? They'll say that might have helped bowlers. Maybe.
Well, maybe the next 200 years is going to be bowler friendly. So.
we'll see.
Let's just do, if I may, a couple of things. I was going to throw three incidents in your career, of which I think many people will have very fond memories. The first one you've already mentioned, 78 minutes heroically batting with a broken arm at Taunton.
Yeah.
Chris Wokes and Liam Norwell have got a few thoughts on you, because if it wasn't for you, they'd be in the history books as having taken an all-10 for Warwickshire.
Yeah.
Any thoughts on that? Liam Norwell was very gracious last week when we spoke to him, and he said if you hadn't taken that first wicket against Hampshire on the big day, at the last day of the 2022 season, that was the one that took the whole initiative for Warwickshire, and then he took the last 9, robbing you of a 10.
Well, that is the line I always say, if I'm totally honest. I got the first wicket in both innings, ergo those two lovely men stole a 10 off me, really. But yeah, very fond memories of both. The Wokesy one was quite surreal because Wokesy bowled unbelievably and got 9 for. It was during those strange days where you could get called up to England mid-match. So we got called down to a test match mid-match. We then replaced him with Josh Poisden, who probably wasn't really a like-for-like replacement. I think we're probably being a bit cheeky there, saying it's going to see him on day 1 and then maybe spin on day 3, 4. And we lost the game. So Chris Wokes bowled like an absolute legend. We're playing against Durham. I don't remember the scores, but we lost the game. A guy got on 9 for, and we messed it up that badly that we lost the blooming game. So that was not great. Liam's, given the context of the whole game and the day and what was at stake, and Liam's body actually, because he wasn't really fully fit when he did that. So with everything at stake there and the emotion involved and the fact that me and Liam seemed, we were bowling a lot, just me and him, and how tired we were, and that was just an unbelievable day. Something I will never ever forget, the fact that we sort of went through it together despite being 200 metres away from each other. We were sort of feeling the same thing down at fine leg. When we spoke to each other after, we were both like on the verge of tears at fine leg, thinking, I'm bowling rubbish here, I just need to back him up type thing. The 9th was unbelievable, and what it meant, and staying up and all that stuff, incredible. And like I've said, Liam's been incredibly unlucky. He's a top human being, but if that's his legacy at the club, then what a legacy to leave.
It was quite poignant, wasn't it? His last game in first class cricket. Another game I'll just throw at you, one final one. Home to Surrey, 66 balls to get off the mark.
Yep.
Took Burge to his century.
Yep.
And your batting has given quite a bit of frustration to the bowlers and pleasure to the spectators in the last.
Well, Michael Burgess has recently retired, so I happened to be in London last week, so I met up with him for a drink and to sort of say well done. And we chatted about this and just how much we both loved that day, and we were quite lucky that me and Burgie had a few of those occasions where we we batted together for a long time, but it was quite a flat pitch from memory, and my mindset was like, I do not want to bowl on this pitch again, I don't think. So it was day 4, always going to be a draw probably, but it was just whether we ended up bowling or not. I think when I came in, Burgie might have been on 70, and luckily, with me patting it back, absolutely blocking every single ball, and Burgie whacking it, I think Burgie ended up getting 170 or something like that, which was very cool.
And 94 minutes without scoring a run, and it was a shame you couldn't get to your 100 minutes, really, wasn't it? But that just shows you don't do that without a bit of technique and a bit of concentration, even if it's a flat track.
No, and again, it was pretty simple, the fact that Burgie was whacking it so well, and my job was pretty simple there. It's like, well, I've just got a knock to get out, and eventually it became a bit of a thing, 12th man had run out drinks, say, oh, you're getting some records here, you're on non for so long. So it almost became, I didn't want to get off the mark. And then eventually when I did get off the mark, I didn't even hit that. It was like this terrible little ball down leg side, and I just sort of wafted my bat at it, no bat on it. Burgie called me through for a single, which he probably shouldn't have done really, because it meant I faced the next over. But I didn't hit it, and the umpire said runs. I was no, I didn't hit it. Because I think it's something like a county cricket record, the minutes on naught or balls on naught. But there are international. I think Stuart Broad's got the international record of 125 minutes on naught. I was like, I could have done it.
Unlucky.
Could have done it.
I have to ask, How many hours do you spend in the nets practicing your leave? Because I think you've got the most elegant leave in county cricket.
I don't like messing with my bowling. I don't like looking at the way I bowl. I don't like the way it looks, so I don't want to see it type of thing. I love my batting. So I watch videos of my batting. I spend a load of time in the nets obsessing about my batting. But I must admit, the coaches are legends and they indulge my batting fetish, if you like. Ian Westwood, Tony Frost, Stuart Barnes, they claw at me for hours and hours and hours. I dread to think the returns on balls faced. Runs I've scored for Warwickshire in the middle compared to balls faced in the nets are probably quite low. However, I love tinkering with my batting. Yeah, I love it.
And the irony is, of course, occasionally number 11s have a huge role to play, don't they? Because they're there at the crucial moment.
And that is the couple of frustrating things that do get on your nerves are when, let's say you play a nice cover drive, but it's the last ball of the over, so you can't run. So you do have to turn down, like I'm not saying I've turned down thousands of runs, but maybe up to 50 or 100 runs you've turned down because you're like, no, you stayed out, Burgee, you stay at that end, this over type of thing. It's that does irk at times because you think, could get a few more runs here. I would love a first class 50. That's one of my big career goals.
What's your highest?
It's 40.
I think you need to go higher up the order. But you keep running out of partners, don't you? Like you did on that famous day. Burge got out, didn't he? You were still going strong.
I don't know if I've sort of painted myself into a corner where I've become this batter who faces a lot of balls and doesn't score many runs. So for me to score 50, I might have to face 200 balls, which is going to take a while.
You haven't done the Knight Watman's job, have you?
No, we've got Danny Briggs, who's very, very good at it. Craig Miles has done it recently. They're both very good. So I tend to stay well in at number 11, which I'm fine with.
Well, just finally getting back to the welfare of cricketers. Mm-hmm. You have had, and you are having, a tremendous career, and it's come through a few bumps, and every long career will do in professional sport, won't it? Professional cricket, but to any young cricketer or any aspiring professional cricketer, do you think it's worth all the hassle?
Yeah, I do. Yeah, given like I said earlier, the places I've been, the friendships you make, the things you get to experience, the trophies, the good times are amazing. So yeah, there are definitely peaks and troughs. And as I say, I am not going to be a cricketer when I'm 50 years old, like Kirsty will be a teacher or someone might be an accountant. So you do get the feeling that you're tearing away in this sports car, having a great time now, but you're careering towards the edge of a cliff. Where the edge of the cliff is, who knows? But it is an amazing time, and the things I've experienced and the things I've seen and done, I'm incredibly grateful to have had those opportunities. So I really would say, if you've got a chance to be a professional sports person at anything, do it. Probably, as I sort of intimated, the important thing is to get things outside of cricket as well. Something else you're passionate about, and another career that you can fall back on. All those things are probably quite important to get alongside your cricket.
I think academies these days at clubs do very much put emphasis on that, don't they? I think in a way they prepare cricketers to fail because fair few of them will, so that hopefully young cricketers are aware of. But I guess you don't want to be too aware and too worried about their future, do you? You want to have the joy of it as well.
No, probably not as at that young an age, but it certainly does get to the age when you're 25 and whatnot, and you think, actually having something outside of cricket and something that you can fall back on does help. Like I mentioned briefly, that work experience, that definitely helped me, because it made me think, well, I'll be okay, I can do something. I might be at the bottom of the ladder for 6 months a year, but I won't be destitute. I can apply myself at something else. And there's no doubt about it, as a sports person, you have this career where you might end up doing this and your earnings are here, whatever. You're gonna fall off a cliff, whether you're Jacob Ethel, Chris Wokes, Oliver Hannon-Dalby, it doesn't matter who you are, age 40, you will have to start again at something, unless you're very lucky and you don't have to work again, which might happen to a few, but it's very few. You have to have 2 careers in your life. Yeah,
at least 2 probably. I look forward to turning up at Edgbaston one day, and here are the umpires, Oliver Hannon-Dalby and another.
I'm very glad you didn't say I'm I thought you might have said there, turn up to New Street Station and say, I know that lad, I know that guy busking. He used to bowl all right.
I don't think that'll happen.
Well, I hope not.
Ollie, thanks very much. It's been a pleasure.
Thanks, Brian. Thanks for having me. Great fun.